All right, so here we go. So what we're gonna do, and I started to make this piece of 2x4, but I'm actually gonna just go ahead and go with the new design right now. So with this new design, we got to make sure that we go ahead and choose our plane. The last one I was looking at is I was choosing the front plane for the extruded for the extruded aluminum. This time I'm going to use the top plane, and so this is where we're going to start. Okay, so if we take a look at this, um, I'm going to go create sketch. It's going to ask me what plane. I'm going to go top plane, and I'm going to get to it. All right. So I'm going to basically choose a 2-point rectangle. So I'm going to start down here at the origin because it makes my life easy. And I'm going to click and I'm going to start to drag. All right. Remember, when you guys measured the 2x4, it was technically 1.5 inches by basically 3.5 inches, correct? So I'm looking at this as a top view of the 2x4. So the 2x4, I'm going to type this in as 3.5 inches. Okay. And I'm going to click tab. And what you guys are going to do is you guys are going to take a long 2x4 and you're going to cut off 6 inches of the thing. Okay. Does that make sense? You're cutting 6 inches off. So I'm just going to type in a 6 here. Boom. So this is the piece that we're starting with. So the way that I want to think about this is we are going to use subtractive measures to get rid of pieces. Okay. Everybody good so far? All right. So now I'm going to make a line here. Okay. Because one of the things that we want to do is we want to make a line from the center of the 2x4 block, which I'm going to find by hovering over this and looking at the triangle piece. So I'm going to click right here. And when I start to move the line, I want you to, I'm not even going to pay attention to the distance, but also notice over here on the side, it gives me the degrees. Okay. So what I'm actually going to look at is I'm just going to make that 45 degrees. Okay. I'm going to make that 45 degrees. I kind of like that right where it's at. Okay. I'm just going to hit enter here. I don't care what that length is. Oh, I'm sorry. So it just went tabbed over. So it actually changed the distance. Or the degree. I'm going to put 45 because on the miter saw, you can cut a 45-degree angle. And I'm just going to hit enter. Okay. So the reason why I don't care that this is longer is because I'm going to get rid of it anyway. How do I get rid of it? Up here with the scissor tool, okay, if you hover over the top, it's trim. So I can trim anything that I don't want. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to click on trim, and I want to get rid of that because it's not needed. I'm going to get rid of this part. I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to get rid of that. Oh, and I'm going to get rid of this. So every time you click on it, it's going to get rid of a piece of the wood essentially. So what we're looking at here is gives you some warnings. It's saying, hey, something's going on. You sure you want to do that? And you can basically say, yeah, I want to do that. All right. So trim tool. Next part we're going to do is there's a couple ways we can do the next part. I'm going to make some notches in this back part. Okay, I'm going to make some notches is what I want to do. So there's a few ways that we can do that. We can make construction lines, or we can just use regular rectangles. It's up to you guys. All right, what do you want to do first? Does it matter? Okay, so something that might make it easier is if we just use a few construction lines. So I'm going to go to this line tool over here, and I'm going to go from this part. I'm just going to click on this line on the top line of the 2x4 and go down to here. Oh, I'm going to hit escape first. My mistake. The line type over here on the right side. Click on construction. Okay, you have to click on construction first in order to do this. So I'm going to go back to my line. Okay, so we're looking at construction. I'm just going to click here on the top, and I'm going to go down right here. So that's 3.5 inches. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to click on sketch dimension, and I'm going to go from that construction line I just made, over to the existing line there on the left of the 2x4. Okay. And I'm going to drag that up. Okay. Remember, that piece of extruded aluminum has to fit over the top of that. That piece of extruded aluminum, if we recall, was 1.5 inches, I believe, 1.5 inches. So I'm going to go 1.5, and I'm going to hit enter. Alexander, yes.
Who is Robert Ethan Isaac?
Somebody in a different class.
How do you get rid of it? Switch the user?
Okay. So you're going to switch the user. Yep. Okay. So I'm just using this to help myself out. Okay. Another thing too is, if you remember, I can actually go and do another construction line, and I'm going to go from. I'm going to look to go. Actually, I don't need to do a construction line. I'm going to hit escape because that's dimensioned off of there. So I'm going to do a 2-point rectangle, and I'm going to go from this corner down to where that construction line is. Okay. Actually, hang on. Let me hit escape. Let me hit the back button because it still made it as a construction line. I made a mistake. I need to make sure I click off of that at the construction line, so we have a regular line. Okay. So back to 2-point rectangle. Got a regular lines. I click in this top left, and I'm going to start to drag it. Now, remember, this entire 2x4 length was 3.5 inches, right? It was 3.5 inches. What you want to do is you want to create a slice out of that part. So again, I don't want to do the math. And so let the computer do the math for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some parentheses in here. Okay. I'm going to put 2 parentheses. And I'm going to go 3.5, which is the thickness of the material, right? It's the width of that 2x4. Minus, we're going to go 15 over 8. Now you might be asking yourself, why are you going minus? Why are we doing the 15 eighths? Okay. Because the distance that you want to, the inside portion of your extruded aluminum was 2 inches minus the thickness of the material, if you recall. So that thickness of that material is 1 7/8. Oh man, it went away. Oh no. So let's try this again. So 3.5 minus 1 7/8, which is 15/8. I'm going to take this whole thing and I'm going to divide it by 2. Oh, what did it do? Keeps going to 1. Okay. So let's see. That is not making sense. Let's go back. It was working so well earlier. This is how it goes at times. Okay. So whenever it goes a little bit bad, that's fine. Just take a step back, try to figure it out. Okay, there we go. So let me just go back to this. Oop. So I'm gonna do the same thing from the bottom. Rectangle. I click here, start to drag it. Okay. Again, it's highlighted. So I'm going to just type in parentheses 3.5, the thickness of the material, minus 15 over 8, close the parentheses, divided by 2. Hit tab. That's at 1.5. That's what I want. I'm going to hit enter. Okay. I'm sorry, say it again.
You said 12 over 8.
15 over 8. Yeah, because and let's kind of maybe take a quick time out here to talk about what that means, right? So the thickness, the part in here is what we're really trying to focus on, right? This part, this little cutout, remember that piece of extruded aluminum needs to fit over the top, right? That piece of extruded aluminum it's 2 inches on the top side, right? If I'm looking down the barrel of that aluminum, remember it's oh my gosh. Remember, it's 2 inches on the top, 1 inch here, correct? But you have a material thickness in here that you need to account for. Remember that this thickness is a 1/16 of an inch all the way around, right? So you have a 1/16 here and a 1/16 here, which is a total of 2/16, which is 1/8, right? So if I go 2 minus 1/8, I get 1 7/8, which equals 15 over 8. So that's why I did that, because at first you're probably like, where is this coming from, right? So that's why I took 3.5, I did 3.5 minus the 15/8, okay? Because I'm basically taking this whole distance minus subtracting this distance, right? Now I divided it by 2 because I need to have that split here and here. There are 2 little chunks that we're removing. That's why I took this whole thing and divided it by 2 so I could get this one length right here. Does that make sense? Bless you. Now, maybe you wouldn't have thought of it like that. That's okay. That's why we're doing it together. Okay. So this is probably the most complicated piece, right? So now I want to get rid of those pieces. So I'm going to hit the trim tool. And I'm going to click on the top, boom, and the side, boom. And I'm going to do it again because it puts it on there twice. Okay. The reason why it puts it on there twice is because it's doing it for both the original rectangle and the ones I'm putting on here now. So I do that here, and here, and here, and here. Is that looking okay? Okay. Yes. How did I cut the corner out? How did I remove that?
How did you take away that entire thing? Like,
Oh, I just made a line. I just went up here to the line function and connected it. Okay. Yes. Okay. So you guys want to go back to this angled piece? So I'm going to post a screencastify a little bit later, just so you know. But all I did is I'm going to get out of this trim tool. I went here to the line function, and I clicked on it, and I started to go at an angle, and I actually just went past it because I didn't really care how far I went. I could put it anywhere. I could go here, and I'm just going to tab over to the angle, to the degrees, and I typed in 45. All right, and then it sets the angle for me. Then you can press enter. Okay, after you press enter, then you can go back and hit the trim tool, right, and start to delete the lines that you want to get rid of. I'm just going to delete the whole line because I don't want to confuse. That's not what we're going to do. Right? So you would just delete the sides of the rectangle. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Right? Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish the sketch. I'm going to finish the sketch because now I need to give this thing some dimensions. So I'm going to extrude it. So I'm going to, the whole thing is extruded. The thickness that we're going to extrude this is going to be the thickness of the 2x4, which is technically 1.5 inches. So that's 1.5 inches. It's on the top left up here, right next to sketch. So now, if I move through this model like that, like so, I can see that it's 3 dimensions. Yep, 1.5 inches because a 2x4 is not actually 2 inches. 1.5. So now I'm not done because remember, the thickness of the material is 1.5 inches. But if you recall, that piece slid over the top, right? That piece slid over the top. So I'm going to make another sketch. And I'm going to click on this as my face. So I'm going to create another 2-point rectangle. So let's I'll go back. Oh. All right. So if you're looking at this from this view, okay? So I just clicked the home button, it took me to here. I'm going to click on the cube, I'm going to go to the front. I'm going to click on the front and it takes me to this side. You guys see that? So I went from the home button down to front. So that took me to this part. I'm going to then create a sketch. And I'm just going to go right here. I'm just going to click in this area because that's where I'm going to be deleting parts. Okay. So I'm going to go rectangle. I'm going to start in the top left. And I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it over. Okay. So keep in mind, this thickness, I need to do some funky math here again, right? The total thickness is 1.5. So in parentheses, I'm going to put 1.5. 1.5 minus the thickness that is inside of this extruded aluminum. The extruded aluminum is 1 inch on the top minus a 16th minus a 16th. So if I go 1 inch minus a 16th minus a 16th, what I get is 1 inch minus 1/8 of an inch, right? So that gives me 7/8 of an inch. Okay. So I'm going to go 1.5 minus 7/8. And then I'm going to divide that by 2. And I'm going to tab over. It's already at 1.5. And I'm going to hit enter. Okay. I'm going to do that again from the bottom. So in case you missed the dimensions, here we go. Here we go again. Again, rectangle. Ooh, what keeps happening there? But actually, so I didn't push enter. My bad. So here we go. If you missed that last part, I'm going to go parentheses 1.5 minus 7/8. Minus 7/8. Close the parentheses. Divide that by 2. 1.5 minus 7/8 divided by 2. Tab it over, 1.5 inches, bam, hit enter, enter. Now it gives me that, okay? I can actually copy this if I wanted to, but I'm just gonna make another one just in case, again, you forgot the measurements. I start in the lower left corner, boom, start to drag it out. Again, that part's highlighted. I'm gonna go 1.5, because that's the thickness of the material, minus 7/8, which is the inner distance of the extruded aluminum that needs to fit snug over the top, divided by 2. 1.5 for that one. Hit enter, and there we go. One inch or 1.5 inches minus 7/8. Close the parentheses, divided by 2. Okay, so now I'm going to hit finish sketch. So now I got these two things here. Okay, I want those to go away. I'm not going to use the trim tool, and here's why. Here's why I can't use the trim tool. You can only use the trim tool on the same sketch. Okay, so I can't delete this top line and this line over here because it wasn't on the same sketch. It was on a previous sketch. You can only use the trim tool on the same sketch. So now I'm just going to hit my extrude button. So I have to subtract it by clicking here. And the distance that I'm going to choose is going to be 3.5. 3.5. But so again, it's as a cut function. I'm going to click OK, and it goes away. See that? I'm going to go extrude again. Do you guys see that? Okay, so again, here it is in the sketch, right? We finished the sketch. I'm going to go extrude. I'm going to click here and here. Actually, you can click both of them at the same time if you want, because you're both going to extrude them both the same distance. And the distance is going to be 3.5. Okay, and now I'm going to click OK, and they go away. Did you look at both of them? Did you highlight both of them? So now it looks like this. Okay, so we're almost there. Almost there.
Target body count.
Can I borrow this for a second?
Oh, I didn't put the minus.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
sorry.
sometimes you need the minus, sometimes you don't. So if it's giving you an error, just try the minus. Okay. So if it's not letting you cut that, if it's not letting you cut it, try throwing a negative in there. Okay. So the distance I put was 3.5. You might have to throw in a negative 3.5, and then you can click OK. Okay. So we're right here, right? So far, so good. Okay. Almost there. We need to make a hole in here. We forgot that part. We need to do that. So we need to make another sketch. Need to make another sketch. I know, just imagine doing this on your own, right? So you could do it. You could do it. Just might take you a while. So we're going to go over the top here. I'm going to click. I'm literally going to click on that portion that I want to cut out. Okay. If you can do that, do that. So I'm going to go here. Okay. So here we are. So I care about putting a hole right here in the very center of all of this. Okay. Right in the center. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to click the center line portion. I'm going to click the line. And I'm going to go center line. Okay. So I want to click the center of here. Click on that corner, then I click on this corner. Okay. You see how we did that? I know it's kind of fast, wasn't it? Let me go back. So if I go center line, I click on the line. I click on the center line construction type. And I'm going to click on this upper left corner here. Boom. And then I'm going to click on this right side. Okay. And then as I creep on over, it gives me that triangle. It's telling me that that's the center of that line. So I click on that, and I'm going to go ahead and drag it on down to the bottom. So then it gives me that. Also, notice that it kind of highlighted this part as a triangle as well. If I go over this way, I'm just kind of playing around with those center lines. So now I'm going to hit escape to get out of that. Okay. So now I'm going to click center diameter circle, and I'm just going to go right here at this center point. Okay. Now notice something on here, on the picture, it gives me this triangle. It's saying, yep, that's the center, and that's what we want. So I'm going to click there once, and I'm going to start to drag it out, and I'm not going to push the button again. What we need is the center hole, or that hole that we're going to make is going to be for a free fit 1/4 bolt. Okay, remember that diagram that I showed you guys before? A free fit is going to be 0.266. Do I expect you to memorize that? No, that's excessive. Okay, but 0.266 should give you the right diameter. I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so now we see that circle, right? We're going to go finish sketch. But now I need to extrude it. So I click the extrude button in the upper left. And I'm going to click on, I don't like this view. It's kind of bothering me. So I'm going to make sure I can see it from the top. So I still have the extrude thing highlighted. I'm going to, oh yeah, that's interesting. So by doing the center line, it actually broke up the circle into 4 parts. So you're going to click on all 4 parts there, so that all of them, so that the entire circle is highlighted. And then the distance we're going to go is, we'll say negative 1.5. Negative 1.5. Make sure that the cut part is selected down here for the operation. Click OK. So now it goes away. See that? So now if we click the home button up here at the top by the cube, there we go. Beautiful. So how many of you guys got that? You kind of there, you got part way? All right. So I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to have to edit that a little bit.